After a little while, man, like you sit back and you think to yourself, what are the most memorable times of my training career? Of anything really. I mean, you can talk about any sort of genre of your life or any sort of part of your life, but I like to sit back sometimes and think about what are my favorite moments of my training career. Uh, and a lot of the times when I have these thoughts, I go back to my, log, my training log. I'm on to my second one now. The old one is back in my house, in my office, and I often pull that thing down from the top shelf. It's on the top shelf so the kids don't get to it and draw on it. I have to keep it out of hand, out of reach. So I pull it down and I look back and I try to go back to the moments where I kind of did a PR, or I had like a really good run of training, or where I have some sort of thought that led to some sort of experiment. And I love going back and studying those preceding days, preceding weeks, months, reading everything that I've kind of thought around that time. And that's kind of the meat and potato of all of this, why I started this journey, why I started this documentation, all of this. Like, these videos are basically one step further than a training log. I realized that you could write until the cows come home, man, but you can't capture all of your thoughts. I don't know about you guys, man, but I can watch documentaries all day long. I can listen and I can watch so much easier, and it's so much more enjoyable than sitting down reading a book. Don't get me wrong, man, I do enjoy reading books, especially in this time of my life, this part of my life where young kids, lots going on. It's kind of hard to sit down and commit to a book. I'm one of those guys that I need silence when I'm kind of reading. I'm not one of those people that can watch TV and read at the same time. I always get frustrated at people that do that, because I'm like, okay, sure, you can read, but how much are you absorbing? There's 5 different people that can read the same damn book, and there's 5 different levels of understanding of absorption from that text. When people tell me, I read 3 books a week, I'm like, man, like, sure, you could be a freaking quick reader, but my idea behind reading is not just the act of reading the words, but it's actually taking those words onto a trip, onto a thought process, into like a digestion process. Just thinking about what you like. So many times, man, like I'm reading, and I've read one page, and I get to the 3rd and the 4th page, and I've read all these damn words, but I'm still thinking about the first page, because my mind runs off on these tangents, taking the idea that the author's telling me, and I've run off with it. So then I often find myself going back, and I'm very kind of deep and meaningful, if you guys haven't realized by now. I like to kind of ponder on these certain ideas. So when somebody tells me something, it doesn't just kind of go in one ear and out the other. Like, I actually process that information, I think about it, and superimpose it to all of my previous beliefs and ideas. And so this is what I love about training. It's kind of like I'm going to refer back to the damn thing that I always refer back to, video games, right? Like, it's like law. It's like a law of the game, like the history, the events that took place prior to this time that the game is based on. When I look at the training log, it's like my law. Okay, two years ago, there was a period of training where I did this and I produced this. So what happened there? So you can go back and revisit it and try and pick apart what caused that idea. And so after like 7-8 years of training, man, I've got this like level of law about my biology, about my leverages, about what works for me. And it's irreplaceable, man. Like, it's literally priceless information. This is what I love about it the most. And a lot of this stuff, I keep saying it, man, but I don't know whether you guys fully understand that this thing is as physical to me as it is intellectual. It's probably the other way around, best said that. It's as mental for me. The intellectual process of understanding what this problem is about is as intriguing to me as the gains that I get. Oh, I'm pushing 120 for 5 sets of 5 on the bench press. That's really cool. It's a good feeling. Don't get me wrong. It's a good feeling. But to me, the thought process doesn't end there. For me, it's like, okay, why? Why? I want to know why. What is the process that led me to that? And I'm always in this review process. I'm always kind of looking for answers. The most recent thing, marching led to a really good stretch of squatting. Why? Was there a weakness there? Did I finally hit the head on the nail on the head? I was beating around the bush for a little while, and then bang, I connected. There was a sound. It's like a little click, a mechanical click. It's like, oh, okay, something's good now. Something's finally clicked. that feeling that you feel like you're on the right track. I love that. And so that marching movement is a very compound movement. There's lots of different moving parts, lots of different stabilizers. And so I've kind of tried in recent times to pick that apart. Okay, another time in my life where the first time I hit 200, that was probably the highest I've ever felt in my training career. It was daunting to have the big 200. Finally did it. I was so excited, man. I remember that video where I made it. I was so excited, man. I was bouncing around the place. I was high as hell. Okay, what led to that? Wasn't marching. Wasn't. It was basically squats and milk, minus the milk. It was that 20 rep program back in the day where you kind of like take weights and you do breathing squats until you're 20. I did that like every other day for a bunch of weeks. It was the most brutal period of my life in terms of training. I remember feeling nervous when I was going to bed before those sessions, feeling nervous walking in. I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to put up with freaking war here. It's like, I don't know, man. Like endurance for me is tough. What rep maxes is cool, but going through that much agony, everything hurts. I remember the bar wants to roll off your damn back and you're like holding it and you start cramping in the wrists. Your arms go numb because the bar's been resting on you for so long. You're seeing stars, the chest hurts, it's on fire, the leg hurts, and so you're trying to like find resting position as you're like fully standing there with the bar on the 16th rep. You're trying to find any sort of respite, but everything hurts. There's no escape the pain. And so finally, like you get to a point where you have to rack and it's like the pain doesn't end there. There's like 3 or 4, 5, 10 minutes of heavy breathing and you're just like, man, that's painful. I remember that period. And so that is one freaking hard way of breaking plateaus. And that's how I got to my 200 kilo. Everything felt good when I did high reps. And so in my mind, it's like a little blip on the radar. In all of my career, there's a blip on the radar around that period of time. And I can always go back, find the training log, find the page, go down and study that period. And so over time, over these 7-8 years, you kind of start to get an understanding of what works and what doesn't. I love that. What led me to throw on 40 kilos onto the damn deadlift last year, in the last 12 months? What happened there? Why did that happen? Well, for one, I did a whole bunch of deadlift every day. Focused on deadlifts a lot. I realized that the deadlift deficiency, the pull off the ground, that little kind of half centimeter, that initial breaking of inertia of the deadlift mimics the same knee joint and hip joint angles as the position that I struggled in with the squat. Okay, that's interesting. So that was a blip on the radar. With the bench press, I got to 140 times 1. How did I do that? I did a whole bunch of push-ups. That's weird. It's always ringing in the back of my mind. Every time I sit down to see the bench press, I think about some of these ideas. It's almost refreshing to think about a different joint. The elbow joint, the wrist joint, the shoulders. That's a different sort of problem as to the hips and knees and the ankles. It's refreshing. I sit down, I'm like, okay, so what am I doing here? I tried the Bilbo sets, I tried high repetitions. That was good, but it didn't produce crazy results like I was expecting. Push-ups had better results than Bilbo. I did push-ups every single day. Sub-maximal exertion. So we're talking like 60% of your maximum repetitions, I'll do that. I initially started with 30% of my max reps for greasing the groove every single day. Bang them out. 3 or 4, 5, 10 sets of these suboptimal, basically practicing the pushing motion. That translated like nobody's business to my bench press. I benched every other day back then, and it was very low volume. It was just literally practicing the damn movement. And the bar started moving quicker and quicker and quicker. That's another blip on the radar. I love that. That training log, man, keeps coming off that shelf, and I'm always kind of looking, flicking. This stuff is hard to understand, but eventually patterns form. Eventually, we're not Einsteins. I mean, I certainly am not an Einstein. I always say to everyone around me, man, like the biggest frustration that I have in all of this is that it's not the physical stuff, although pain pisses you off, but it's the intellectual stuff. Because I know if Albert Einstein was not into physics, theoretical physics, and he was into training with that much freaking intelligence, that guy would be the strongest guy in the world. Okay, he might not be gifted to do crazy things, but he's an intellect, right? And when you have a really smart brain on your shoulders, you can work these things out. And my frustration is all this is that I haven't worked it out quicker. That's when I get frustrated. Okay, all of these blips on the radar, there's all of these like data sets, there's these points in data. And your role is to kind of see a pattern. It's kind of like when you look into the stars. It's kind of like blips on the radar, yeah, on your training log. It's kind of like the stars. Some people look and it's a whole bunch of dots in the sky. But some people see a form, they see a shape, a pattern forming. They connect the dots. That's kind of what this is, man. You're going to be able to connect the dots. And when you connect the dots, man, finally you connect it. And then you implement this idea, this form. Okay, push-ups. Oh, man, and you see the results on the bar. That's the most exciting thing for me. It really is. It's that idea of grabbing the training log and looking for patterns. And sometimes, man, I look at the same damn page. I mean, I don't have 50 million blips on the radar. There's only been like a handful of moments that I continuously go back in the training log and I try to study. Okay, I hit 265 the other day. That's interesting. What did I do before that? Well, I did exactly how I got to 250 and 255 and 260. Same stuff. Whole bunch of practicing deadlifts every day with a whole bunch of squatting volume. So when I squat to sets of 5, my deadlift goes up. That's it. Squatting, for whatever reason, makes the deadlift go up. That's it. I've tried doing deadlifts for a whole bunch of volume. That makes me just so damn fatigued. It's just not worth it. Might as well get that volume through a similar movement pattern like a squat. Get it through there. It's not dead weight. There's an eccentric portion and then there's a concentric. With a deadlift, you're just starting off with the concentric. It's brutal, breaking that inertia. I think that's where the cost is. If you guys don't do it, and if you're serious about training, you gotta start. You get a freaking hard copy or whatever. You can do whatever you want, but I feel like hard copy is the safest because it's physically there. Like you can't lose it, man. Like it's if your computer crashes, something crashes, if World War III and everything kind of disappears, you lose it. This stuff, man, I don't give crap what's going on. I can still find it. It's in my garage. It's on the shelf. Voila. Love that. You can always find it. But if you guys are not recording your stuff, man, you're serious about training, you're making a big mistake, man. You have to record. Because without recording, man, like your brain can't remember all this, man. I go back in my training log and I'm like, you idiot. Look at this. The answer's here. You idiot. Right? The brain is weird, man. Like we have all these memories, but they're so kind of blurry, man. You know, we forget. We don't remember the intricacies, the accuracy of stuff, but we remember how emotionally we felt. Those things are kind of like recorded really well. Especially my brain. I forget what I was doing on 3 years ago on this block. I can't remember. I'll be surprised if you remember as well what sort of training period you had. And when you write it on a piece of paper, man, it's there and you can study it. You can study it. Just like when you go to university or school and they give you like this biology book. That's somebody's work recorded on a piece of paper and you're reading his work or her work. That's what this is. You're running a damn experiment, whether you like it or not. Write this stuff down and go back to it and read it. Just read it. Sometimes it can be a little bit tedious and you get frustrated. And a lot of my ideas, man, like come from previous failures and success. That's it. That's how it is. And I always look for patterns. No new names to mention on the Patreon list today, which is absolutely fine because there's a whole bunch of you guys and I'm blessed as anything. Really good conversations after yesterday's video and the video before. A whole bunch of well wishes from everyone. Congratulating 100,000 subscribers, which is still like I don't even know what's going on, man. Like anyway, we're going to continue as we are. The formula stays the same. The videos are going to stay the same. This is me thinking about all of this, talking to you guys, spreading my ideas. I'll say to a lot of you guys, man, like these videos are my thoughts, and they shouldn't be taken as Albert Einstein's ideas on general relativity. This is very much a work in progress. A lot of people don't allow you into the kind of the brainstorming kind of part of the procedure. Usually people kind of give you the final product. This is the training program. This is this, this is that. What I'm letting you guys into is in my mind, what I'm actually thinking about, how I'm actually feeling my way through this pitch black cave without a torch. That's how I'm dealing with this. And so when I'm talking about these patterns and these ideas, I'm kind of like feeling my way out. Okay, I've felt this end part of the cave before. Okay, I know where this is. I know where this leads to. That's kind of the idea behind all of this. And I encourage you guys to do the same thing with your own training. You know, absolutely, man. And you guys have given me incredible ideas. And you know, I think it was yesterday, or was it this morning? Somebody said, Ivan, you should train to dunk the basketball. And I was like, man, that's like, you reminded me of something that I thought about like last week. It kind of, the dunk contest planted the seed in my head. I started thinking about explosive training, and I started, like, I had a bit of like a cascade of thoughts along these lines, because I love dunking. I would love to dunk one day. I've never been able to dunk the ball. And with all this like added horsepower to my lower part of my body, I feel like I'm much more explosive. My deadlift is going through the roof. I feel like I could, you know, potentially do this. And then I'm kind of thinking about joint health. I'm 33, you know, the elasticity of some of these structures, the Achilles, the knees and all that stuff. Like slow movements, slow strength movements are really good. But when you start going to Olympic weightlifting, explosive movements, it's a different type of property to a structure. Speed kills. And I've always said this is kind of why I haven't jumped into Olympic weightlifting. This is why I haven't jumped into, you know, explosive vertical jumping training. But I am flirting with the idea. I'm kind of entertaining the idea of doing that. Obviously, squatting is always going to be number one. But I'm thinking about how would that look if I was to kind of sneak some jump training into this, because I would love to dunk the ball, man. But anyway, but this is just an example of how you guys also feed me in my thoughts. And that's where a lot of these topics come from for these videos. It's from you guys, discussions we have. Anyway, guys, enough of the black screen. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.